Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you the final checkout video of a really cool Coca-Cola polar bear animated telephone. And this is Marjorie's telephone from Michigan. And we did an initial checkout video of this telephone, and we kind of showed all the problems that it was having. It seemed to ring and have animation, but when you went to answer the telephone, you didn't get any kind of a dial tone, or you couldn't transmit, and you could not dial out. And all there was kind of a funny electronic noise on the handset. That's all you could hear in the receiver. So we talked about in the first initial checkout video how we needed to troubleshoot this PC board. And so I've got it in a fashion where I'm putting it back together again, so I have it laid just a certain way. Because these are not real simple to get all back together again and get apart. But we're going to try to get it all back together, and we want to show you here a couple of transistors. So we went ahead and troubleshooted the board and found a couple transistors that were bad, and we went ahead and replaced them. Another thing that I found was some bad solder. So I wanted to repair that soldered also, and it's not uncommon that I'll find bad solder on the board, and so what I do is I resolder everything. I just go through it and resolder everything and get it all taken care of, so there's no future problems with any soldering issues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and start putting this board back together again, and I want to try to get it into position here so that I can get the screws back in it. These are pretty difficult to work on because you got to make sure that everything is in its place and that you're not pulling on any wires that you're not supposed to, because there's quite a few wires. So now what we want to do is get some screws back into this. Get this board down back into place, and then we're going to start doing some checks on this telephone. And since they don't really have any schematics for most telephones, you might get lucky and find something, but I don't bother with them, because most of the time it's just a waste of time to look for schematics, and I don't use them anyway, really, on most of phones. And so it's just one of those things. And you always have a screw that doesn't seem to want to go back in properly, or wants to be a little difficult. So now we've got all that back together again. We want to get, this is our demo button here, so we want to get that back into place so we're able to listen to the demo when we want. We're going to get that button back into place. Make sure everything's laying properly there. now what we need to do is I need to put the speaker back into place, because we actually had to take the speaker out in the initial checkout, because your board won't come up unless the speaker is disconnected. We could have desoldered the wires, but it's just as simple to go ahead and pull the screws out. Sometimes they put glue around these speakers, and they did in this one, but it wasn't enough glue to really last over the years, so it wasn't an issue. It came right up. If we would have had a problem where there was too much glue and it just didn't want to, come off of the board real simply, I would have desoldered the wires, just so we didn't tear up the speaker. Because I know the speaker was good, because the demonstration of the animated telephone worked, and you could hear the music. So we know the speaker was good. I'll get this last screw in here, and then we've got several for the bottom plate. Want to make sure that we get a lot of this taped back again, so at least it's not in our way. Sure all of our wires are still in place. We want to put make sure I've got my modular port back in place. Okay. Now these demo buttons sometimes can be it can be a problem when you're trying to put these back together. And then other times they seem to go real well. But they can be an issue. So instead of messing with it for a long time, I'm going to try to hold it here on the outside and then slip the cover down. They'll keep falling out of your hand if you don't watch it. You want to get this all snapped back into place. Make sure this all fits, because then you start getting to a point where you get some screws in it and then all of a sudden something's not working out. So we got to make sure that it's all going to go back into place. And it can be a little difficult, because sometimes they don't want to go back the same way they came apart. So I'm just going to try to put a couple of screws in here. And I'm not going to tighten them real tight, because I'm going to have to work my way around the unit to make sure we've got everything back together again. Seems like we might have something stopping it. is where the light goes up into the unit. It doesn't want to fit back together like it was. So we got to make sure that we get everything out of the way so that we can get it back in. And it takes a little bit. It's not a simple process to get everything back the way it goes. But if you stick with it, you'll get it. And they all seem to want to give you a little bit of a trouble. You know, I've done enough of these animated telephones that have large covers, and it just takes a little bit to get them back the way they were after they've been taken apart. We've got quite a few screws here. Get all them back in. And then we're going to do some final checks with it. We'll have to get our batteries back in the unit. That's why you want to at least put one screw in it, because when I had problems putting it back together again, that one screw kind of helps at least keep the cover from getting away from you, because it can happen. You know, when you're kind of messing with one end of it and you've got another end, if it's not all, you know, if there's not an end secured, it's just going to get away from you. So it's nice to have one or two screws in it when you're trying to get it all back together again. Once in a great while you'll work on one and everything just goes back together perfect and you don't have an issue, but 9 times out of 10 it will be an issue. It'll be a little bit to get it back together. We're almost finished up here. With the screws. And we'll get our batteries in. Okay, I'm going to make sure that everything's looking okay. That must be out of another unit. Got everything here. Now what we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean the contacts while we've got it apart here. It's not going to hurt to do that. I'll clean the battery. This helps clean off any surface corrosion that you can't even see, because that can happen. You know, you can have corrosion that you can't even see. that cleaner will clean that up. So now we want to put our batteries back in. And put our cover back on. Flip our phone around. I want to get my line cord installed. And so now I also want to do this. I want to check my switches. There's some dirt on the top here. I want to get that out of the way. I'm going to make sure all my switches are in the right position. Okay. And then I only have to switch one switch to go back to animation. So now we have the piezo buzzer on right now because I want to check that. I'm going to go ahead and ring the unit. We'll let it ring a couple times. Give you some dial tone. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dial some numbers. I'm going to end in a 2. And what I want to do now is I want to hit the flash and redial. Okay, we ended in a 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call it one more time. Give it one more ring. Give you some dial tone. Ring it one more time. Dial tone. And I'm going to go through the numbers again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, star, pound, end in 2. Flash, redial, and we should end in a 2 here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to reach up underneath this unit, and I think I'm on the right switch there. I'm going to go into animation. Okay, I'm going to stop the demo, and then I'm going to go ahead and call it. And now that the demo's on, or the animation is on, when it rings, it'll go into its demonstration. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and answer it, give you some dial tone. I'm going to dial a 2, and I'm going to speak into the transmitter, into the handset. And every time you see this red indicator light here on the analyzer, that's 100% modulation. So basically every time I transmit, that's an indication of 100% modulation. So now that we know the telephone is working, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some dial tone. I'm going to call a time and temp number.
Good evening. Credit issues? Apply by phone anytime at 622-4600. 622-4600. Same day approval available. Today is Sunday, August 28th. The time is 9:05. Current temperature 83 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area. Chance of a shower, otherwise partly cloudy tonight, lows in the upper 50s, partly cloudy on Monday, a high in the middle 80s.
Okay, now I'm going to hit flash. Give you some dial tone. I'm going to dial my number, and it should be busy. I hit flash one more time. And we'll go, say, dial time and tip one more time.
Good evening. Our body shop can repair almost any make and model for less. Offenburg, Belleville, 234-0330. Today is Sunday, August 28th. The time is 9:05. Current temperature 83 degrees.
Okay, so we know the telephone is fully functional now, and that the telephone has been repaired. Now I'm going to do some more final checks on this telephone because I like to overcheck. I'm an overchecker, and I'm going to continue to check it and make sure that everything's working properly. We replaced a couple transistors and resoldered the main PC board, but you never know. I mean, it could have been a surge. It could have been anything that caused the transistors to go bad. And so I'm going to keep an eye on it, make sure it wasn't something down the road. I want to ring it several times. I want to check it.